How's the weather down there? Is it wild? No?
Hey,
Did you hear me?
no, I didn't hear you before.
How's the weather down there? Is it wild?
It's better now. It was awful like an hour ago. It was like hailing, like just an insane amount.
That's crazy.
It was not great. Most of us were in like the bathrooms sheltered up.
Oh no. Oh
We
my
were
god.
good. We got like tornado alerts,
Uh-huh.
like nearby.
Oh,
Yeah, not awesome.
that's crazy.
Say less than ideal working.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Um, how's the stuff on your end coming?
I'm good. I'm done.
Okay, cool.
I think I closed out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
think
think it should be good.
I think multiple people can be editing from the web-based version. I think it's when we start working on the like OneDrive, then that's
Yeah.
what issues.
I think I've learned not to do anything on the OneDrive
Yes, same.
because I feel like it just doesn't ever go well. Like I just download and then re-upload stuff.
Yeah, basically do the same thing. It doesn't sync up. It like doesn't talk to the web-based stuff. So if somebody's using that, it's not ideal. Um, There, so I'll carry all of the slides up until I'll hand it off to you at the summer calendar.
Perfect.
And then you'll basically cover through competitions page, and then I'm letting Mandy and Jenna cover their stuff, like healthy
Okay.
athletes and young athletes towards the top of the call so they can just jump off. And then I'll have Elizabeth cover just the entry forms how-to document as like introduce at the beginning, and then it's you guys carrying basically the rest of the call.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
Until Elizabeth take it back
until
over.
Elizabeth
Like,
picks it up at the end with the admin stuff, yeah.
okay.
We didn't include anything on here about using softball rosters, like season registration rosters for softball. We should just do a separate call for that, right?
We can.
Okay, let's do that. I think I'll just like float the idea of what we're trying to do when I talk about rosters as a whole, and then tell them that we'll have a future call about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's just tell them there's no extensions and deadlines and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, at some
No,
point they'll start listening, right?
that's one would think so.
Until we like when we stop saying we'll accept late ones, like it happened with medical, as you guys got a much better turnaround. So I think if we keep down that road.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the paperwork stuff is like starting to come together, which is nice because it's been like 5 years that we've been working on it.
Yeah. Good, good.
Are you guys how are you guys doing on regional competition dates? Do you think you're close on those for Front Range?
For summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kara updated, from what I know, she updated it. There's like most of them are 90% sure. I think there's only a handful that are like Southeast Bocce is the only one that I haven't had conversation with anyone on, and that guy just is off till tomorrow. So
Okay.
but I'm
Yes,
hoping we can get that in the end of July because then they have the Rocky Mountain Games after that.
Okay, cool. Denver
So I
Region
think
10.
that should be updated. Is that not updated on the calendar?
Yeah, it says tentative, so
Yeah.
I was just, yeah.
I'll
that's
talk through that. I could talk through that more specifically when we get to it.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. One thing I did want to talk about, because I think we're probably gonna get this question on the call now, is what do teams do when they if they have like multiple teams participating on the same weekend? So like a DPR that has like maybe bocce and tennis in separate locations and may not have coaches to cover all of them. You know, like or inevitably, I think like Tammy Carney comes to mind. How do we tackle that?
Well, the way we talked about setting up regionals was just gonna overlap like it does now. So
Yeah.
I think we'll just figure it out as it comes up. I don't think we need to bring it up necessarily. Hopefully
Okay.
it'll
Case by case.
kind of work itself out.
Okay. Sounds good. Just wanted to, there's something I thought about as I was looking at the calendar, and
uh-huh.
I imagine we'll get
There's
that.
not enough weekends in the year to give everybody enough practice to push them up any farther as well, is like, I think a fair enough. I mean, I think already we're cutting the season pretty short, so I think we can hopefully share that with folks and go from there.
I agree. I just know that it's bound to be a question.
And I think when I was thinking about it actually earlier today, the overlaps are the same overlaps that there would be at state. So like bocce and tennis are probably going to be on the same. So I think that that might be a piece that'll kind of work itself out as well.
Yeah, athletes will just have the opportunity to pick the one event that they're going to do at state and then commit to
Right.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hey, Kara, Meg, Kyle.
How's it going?
Good, man. Meg, do you want to do team introductions or like staff introductions, or do you want me to do that and then introduce you to run with your portion? How about I introduce you and then you can say hello, introduce the rest of the team. Would you mind introducing Katie? I can do it.
You want me to introduce Katie?
Well, the whole team, but Katie's the newest member of the team that nobody would recognize on this call. I'm also happy to do it, but
I'm good with whatever. I'm doing it. Is this right? Or you do it?
yes. Yeah. I'll do the initial greeting, welcome everybody in, and then give you the floor.
Right. You're recording. I don't know if you want to stop recording until the
Adrian.
promotion starts.
I can edit it. I'll edit.
Exciting happening here.
Adrian,
Yep.
Adrian, I might be coming in and out of service. If I'm jumping on and off the call, that's why.
You're good. No worries. Kyle's driving to Utah.
Cool.
Are you going to watch softball in Utah? Is your sister playing out there?
Yeah, it's her last college tournament. It's the
Oh.
conference championship.
Nice.
So making my way to watch. She doesn't know I'm coming either, so it's just a little surprise.
That's fun.
We'll say hi to the family for us and tell them we're excited to see them in a few weeks.
I will. Well, they're
I'll just assume you said they're super excited to see me and be at summer games. Is all I got out of that.
Susan, do you need me to pull up any files, like the competitions page or anything like that?
If you want to pull up the competition page, you can, but otherwise everything else is in there. But if you want to share that, I can talk through that. I don't think the countdown clock for entries has gone up yet, but
Great.
so you can share it if you want to. That's fine. I can talk through it.
Okay. Elizabeth, I made you co-host. You're great at running the slideshow. Do you want to do that? I'm incapable of doing both things at once. It's a character flaw.
Today, Jeff and I did a unified leadership training and we both forgot our printed notes. So we had to go off of the presenter view, but it wasn't working. So we had to log into someone else's computer, follow the notes on my computer and go forward on the one that was called into the Teams call. So this is a
Great.
basic self-inflicted, but
All right, it is 9:30. I'm gonna let everybody in. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, how's
see
it
you.
going?
Good to see everybody. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. It is summer season is upon us. We're starting to let some folks in. We got people trickling in, so we're gonna give this another minute or two as everybody gets joined into the meeting and then we get started. Elizabeth, if you want to pop up the slideshow. Excellent. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the summer season coaches meeting. Very excited to share more about all the great things that we have coming up around the corner for you all, your teams, your athletes, your families coming up this summer season. We have some exciting things planned and look forward to sharing a little bit more of that. I think we got a good bunch in. We'll probably have a couple more trickling in as we get started, but to keep us on time, we'll jump into it. So hello, Elizabeth, if you can move us to the next slide. Wanted to give you guys an opportunity to meet our team. We have a great group of people on our staff who are all joining us here on today's call. So wanted to go through and just introduce everybody so you know who's in the room and who you're talking to. So starting us off, I'm gonna hand off to our esteemed CEO, Meg Scremin. Meg, I'll give you the opportunity to say hello to the team.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. See many familiar faces and new faces. I'm excited to just introduce our wonderful team that you have on here with you tonight. And then also, of course, we remain at your service for anything we can do to help make your SoCo experience better. We're here for that. So I'll go around a little bit. SoCo team, you can wave so people can see. We've got Shaka. Everybody knows Shaka Sutton, our Chief Outreach Officer and VP of Sports. Susan Vogue, you'll get to hear from soon, Senior Director of Sports and Competitions. Where's Corey? Awesome, Corey Chandler, our Sports and Competition Manager. Maybe one of our newer, not the newest team member on the call, but one of our newer, we've got Mike Rusbolt, longtime GOC member, who is now part of our Western Region team, Sports and Competition Coordinator out there. Kara Waldmeyer, where's Kara? There she is, our Sports and Competition Coordinator on the Front Range. And then we have Denise, longtime coach, and now our volunteer and coach manager. Mandy DeWitt, there's Mandy, Senior Director of Young Athletes, and Ashton Anderson, who works with Mandy, Young Athletes Manager. We've got Jenna Tweet, who you'll get to hear from in a little bit, sharing all of the awesome things that we're doing with health. She's our Senior Inclusive Health Manager. Kyle Kemper, I just saw him pop on. He's driving out to Utah right now, but he's our Southeast Regional Manager. We have Michelle, who I don't think can make it tonight, but she is our Senior Western Regional Manager. Elizabeth Aslan, many know our Northeast Regional Manager, and our official newest on the team. Where's Katie? There's Katie. Katie, do you want to share something about yourself? Katie is our brand new Denver Regional Manager. And as you could see, we still have awesome Adrian on here as our Senior Director of Regional Services, but we've been able to add more support into the Denver region so that our team can better support you. And Katie, before you introduce yourself, I'll give you a moment to think of a fun fact. We also have Alexandra Vanderpool on here. You may not see her on the list, but she is on the call and you'll get to hear from her soon. She's our Senior Director of Events and works on all of our fun and awesome fundraising events. So Katie, any fun facts you want to share with everybody? A little background about yourself?
I think most of my coaches at least know some things about me. But for everyone else, I'm originally from Chicago, moved here about a month ago, actually today. I think the weather is very similar, at least from what I saw today. So I'm not missing out from the Midwest, that's for sure. But I'm loving Colorado so far. So I'm very excited to be on my first coach's call for summer.
Well, we're happy to have you, Katie, and I certainly hope the weather here is better than Chicago.
Very similar so far, so.
Our winters, it gets better at least. Okay, with that, I think that's the team that we have on the call. So again, we are here always. If you need anything, we can support. I'll turn back to Adrian.
Great. Thanks, Meg. You'll hear again from Meg here in a few minutes. So we're just going to breeze through a couple things here at the top of the call. We've invited Alex to join us to talk about plane pull that we have coming up, which is a really exciting opportunity for you guys to join as local programs and teams. We're going to cover some paperwork stuff, talk about some risk management updates and reminders that I think would be really helpful for you, some COVID updates, and cover athlete application in Class A's and some developments that we have in those areas. Then we're going to kick it over to our young athletes team and then our healthy athletes team to talk about all the things that they have coming up this summer. And then we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of the season calendar, sports rules updates, event dates, all that stuff. And then at the end of the call, we'll close out with just some other administrative reminders around certificates of insurance, codes of conduct, principles of meaningful involvement, that type of stuff, and other tools that we've developed in recent seasons that will help you out as coaches. And then we'll end it with Q&As. But if you have any questions that are pressing as we move along through the call, please don't hesitate to ask. We will be monitoring the chat as well. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in there and we could address them as we go along. All right. So Alex, invited you on to talk about plane pull. Want to share a little bit about what we got coming up?
Yes, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. We have our plane pull series coming up this summer. If you haven't participated before, it's a really fun event. It's a unique competition that you really can't find anywhere else in Colorado, where teams of up to 25 at Denver or up to 10 in Colorado Springs have a fun competition with pulling a plane the fastest across the tarmac. So on August 26th, we have our Denver plane pull, which will be at Signature Flight Support at Denver International Airport. Very cool setting. We'll be pulling a United Airlines plane. And on September 9th, we're going back to the the National Museum of World War II Aviation in Colorado Springs, which is a really cool event. People get to pull a World War II plane. It's a PBY Catalina, for anyone who knows World War II planes. And what's really cool is that local programs who participate in this get to fundraise and earn a percentage back towards their local program. So if you've done the polar plunges before, this is a very similar setup. So the levels are there below. If you raise 1,500 or more, it's 50% that goes back to your program. It costs, if you're going to the Denver event, and I can send everyone a flyer after this, but if you're going to the Denver event, the cost for a team of up to 25 is $1,250. So if you raise just a little bit more over that, half goes back to your program. And we'll have a trophy this year for local programs, the fastest local program team at both the Denver and Springs plane pulls. So that's the website there. And I have a flyer that I can give to you, Adrian, to share out with everyone after the call as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, those of you who have participated in polar plunges in the past, really similar opportunity in the way we structure the fundraising elements to this. And just a super fun day out on airport tarmac, which is really, really cool. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity if you're looking for easy, low lift fundraising opportunities for your team. The regional managers are all really well versed in Plainpool, so feel free to reach out to your regional manager. They'll be happy to answer any questions and how to get you set up, and you know, incentives for you guys to join.
Yeah,
So,
it's family friendly. It's a great event, lots of vendors with giveaways, activities for the kiddos. And yeah, you can have athletes from your local program or friends, family, and colleagues on your team too.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Alex. Meg, kicking it back over to you for emergency management stuff.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to run through, of course, making sure everybody knows everybody's health and safety is our #1 priority. So we just wanted to run through a few procedures, policies, protocols, things that we have in place to help ensure everybody's safety. So at competitions moving forward, if you hear a 3-horn sound in a row, that will signify a potential emergency. And we're going to ask everyone, you can tell your teams to stop, look, and listen for further instruction. And that will be given out via bullhorn or announcement or loudspeaker that we have there. So if you remember nothing else from this, it's, sorry, Grayson. All right, we'll press on. It is stop, look, and listen when you hear 3 sounds. So please do remember that. We will be handing out emergency communications cards that will not only include who to contact in the event of an emergency, but who this protocol. Also, we want to make sure everybody knows that we will have medical and law enforcement. Sorry. I swear there's another adult in this house right now.
I can pick up here for Meg. So
Okay, they're all gone. I'm really sorry about that. So there is in general medical and law enforcement present at almost every single event. And if not, we will have medical plans in place for that. And then we'll be distributing emergency communication cards at check-in and coaches packets. Again, that will reiterate the contact information and that 3-horn sound so that people know what to expect and what to do from there. And then just wanted to make sure everybody knows, if you have an emergency or anything that takes place at practices, your regional manager is your go-to, and we'll kind of share a little bit about that in a second. But RMs are your contact for anything that takes place at practice. And I wanted to make sure that you know, as a staff, we have ongoing trainings that take place every year. We review and update our crisis communication and management plan. More than 15 of our staff are CPR, AED, and first aid certified. We just went through our recertification. We've received active threat training, and of course, as many of you know or took advantage of, offered that for our coaches. And then we do partner with law enforcement regularly. As you guys know, we have wonderful friends in law enforcement who are really there to work with and guide us on everything that we're doing there in terms of emergency management and risk mitigation. So I just want to give everybody that update. Again, many of you know this, but for those that are new, if there is an incident at your practice, an event of an injury, an accident, any sort of medical incident, we do ask that you complete an incident report. And please do send that to your regional managers within 24 hours and make sure it is filled out in its entirety. It's really important that you have contact information. And if outside medical emergency was required, please contact your RM right away. Once we receive those forms, we will then submit them to our insurance, American Specialty, and they will then be in touch with you for further instruction. But if we don't have a completely filled out form, it makes it really hard for us to get that information, to file the report, etc. So a little bit about incidents there. And then severe weather. Again, probably a refresher for many of you, but we just want to make sure all coaches know that practice cancellations are up to you. I think it's important to let your athletes know that as well. It is at coach discretion. We do have some guidelines in which we strongly recommend that you do cancel practice. That would be if temperature forecasted or reached during practice is above 95 degrees, heat index over 102, there's a heat advisory or an air quality alert. Those are times when we really recommend that you do cancel practice. And to the extent you can, give as much notice as possible. And do also let your regional manager know, just so they're in the loop in case they get calls from athletes. And then in the event that there is lightning or thunder, seen, detected by anything, lightning detector, the facility, etc., please stop practice immediately and seek shelter. Probably obvious, but important to say. And then you cannot resume activity for 30 minutes after both the sound of lightning and thunder. And that's it, Adrian. I get to share the fun, the fun stuff there. But no, if anybody has any questions on any of our emergency procedures, any thoughts, concerns, please always feel free to reach out to us because we do take it very seriously. So thanks. And sorry for the interruptions. Of course. Yeah.
That was great. For just to clarify on the lightning piece, we've got this question before, but if lightning strikes at 29 minutes of your 30-minute count, that timer then resets and you're waiting another 30 minutes from the point of the most recent lightning strike. So just a rule of thumb to adhere to. And those of you in the Denver metro area, today would have been a perfect day to cancel practice. So use that as another rule of thumb. Now we're going to move on to COVID stuff. So just a quick reminder, we are still requiring one of our COVID forms, the communicable disease waiver, which is going to be found on our competitions page, is going to be linked here. So that is only needed for anybody who is new to the team and hasn't previously completed one in a prior season. So if they've participated in a prior sport this season, or have participated with you in the 2 years or 3 years since COVID, we have their stuff on file, and they're good to go. So it's just for any new members of your team and having them complete that. And then that needs to be returned to your regional manager following the first practice. As far as any COVID exposures, if you are aware of anything that takes place at a practice, or somebody who recently attended practice and is now symptomatic for COVID, I would just alert your team just so that they have a heads up. And then in the event you find out about a positive COVID test following a competition, regional or state competition, please notify your regional manager so we can be aware. We no longer require team sign-in sheets for practices for contact tracing. So just want to give you an update on those. Wanted to spend a little time just clarifying some terms that you're going to hear us cover throughout this conversation and over the course of the season today. So differentiating between what it means to register, our applications, and entry forms. So registration, when we use that term, that is regarding our seasonal registration process. That is specifically for your team sign up. And that is done on a seasonal basis. So this is what athletes and unified partners will complete over the season registration period, where we capture their information and then get them connected with an appropriate team opportunity for that respective season. It's something that they will have to do again for the fall season, winter season, etc. The application, that is a term that we use for our athlete application and Class A application. That's a formal documentation that we require for an individual to join Special Olympics. So the athlete application, that includes your physical examination form that's completed by a doctor. And then that gets submitted through the online athlete application. And that is your waivers, your release forms, your health history, medications, that type of stuff. So when you hear the term application, that's what we're referencing. And then entries, that is the information that you coaches are providing us at Special Olympics in advance of the competition period. That's going to provide us with details on your team rosters, your divisions, entry scores, times, that type of information that those of you who've done this before with us are familiar with, and we'll cover in more detail as we get into our sports and competitions section. So we're going to move on. Just wanted to share fresh reminder, we've been sharing this for some time, but we are no longer accepting paper applications or old application forms. If you are still in possession of paper athlete applications, we are no longer utilizing those. The online athlete application is where we are receiving all of our athlete applications moving forward. You have the links here for both the athlete application and the Class A. For anybody who needs assistance or support in completing their athlete application, if they have difficulties or challenges using a computer or accessing the internet in order to submit their athlete application, please let us know. We have a help desk that can provide that support and provide over the phone support in completing their athlete application. So let us know. You can let a regional manager know. We're happy to provide that support and direct connection service for anybody who needs the help. We're going to move on. Want to spend some time talking about a shift that we're making in how we're notifying individuals about their expired athlete application and Class A's. So we've been implementing this over the last 4 months, and we'll be doing so moving forward. But these are steps that we're going to be taking to provide everybody with their expiration dates with more advanced notice and take off much of that responsibility that typically falls on the coach's shoulders around a competition period of reminding their teams about what their expiration status is and when they need to complete their athlete applications in Class A's. So here are a couple things that we have started implementing recently. As of February of this year and moving forward, athletes who are in our database, so anybody who's previously participated in a regional or state competition, will be receiving an alert from Special Olympics Colorado informing them of their upcoming expiration date, both for Class A's and athlete applications, 60 days in advance of their expiration. So give them a 2-month heads up that they need to update their application prior to it being lapsed. They will also receive a 1-year notification in advance of their expiration date. So we do this because athletes, as many of you know, they only have that one annual exam that they receive as part of the Medicaid waiver. So giving them as much notice as possible so they could plan accordingly and update their paperwork going into a season. We're implementing these two, and we've seen that to be effective in giving people that advance notice. We are also going to be informing them in 2 other ways. So anybody who completes our season registration with us is also going to receive a confirmation email the week that they've completed their season registration, which will update them of their application status, whether they're good to go for the season and they don't have, there's nothing else for them to do, or if they are expired or don't have paperwork on file with us, they will be informed of that as well, and the steps that they need to do to complete their paperwork with us. So we are informing them directly, and we will also inform them one more time when we do the team introduction emails at the beginning of in advance of the beginning of the season. So we will do a team introduction email where we will connect all of the participants on your team with you as coaches, and then alert everybody who's receiving that email of their respective individual application status. So wanted to share, these are 4 different steps that we were taking to introduce their expiration dates to individuals directly that we are trying to do without having to lean on you directly as coaches to relay that information to your participants. We'll move on. So with that effort in mind, we are making some adjustments to our scratch or paperwork deadline as it relates to competitions. We are shifting to everybody having their athlete application or Class A on file and ready to go as they start the season. This is an expectation that we are trying to set with everybody when they join with us. One, it eliminates liability concerns for injuries at practices. They will be covered by our insurance for anybody that has that at the application or Class A on file. So in the event there's an injury at practice, they will be covered and supported by Special Olympics Colorado. Those without paperwork on file with us are on their own, unfortunately. So we want to make sure that everybody has all that completed going into the start of a practice season. We realize that this is a transition, so we are hoping that this season we are still going to provide a window of time following the submission of entry forms, or we will provide you that review period of your team's rosters, so that you guys have a time to see who is expired and then communicate that with your teams. But we are hoping that the majority of your participants, hopefully all of your participants, will have their applications completed prior to the start of the practice period. That said, we're going to be holding to a very firm scratch deadline, which will follow 1 week after the expiration dates, or the entry due dates. And I'll cover a little bit more about that when we go into our timeline. If you have any questions around people with paperwork on your teams, please communicate with your regional manager. We are here to support you in that and provide you with as much information as possible on your participants, so you can have those conversations with them earlier into the season and provide them with any resources that they need in order to complete their application so they could still participate at a regional and state competition. Those without paperwork on file with us or updated paperwork by the time the scratch deadline approaches will not be able to participate at a regional competition. And by way of that, those that can't participate at a regional competition will not be able to participate at a state competition. So really trying to encourage everybody to complete that that paperwork going into the season. Let's move on to the next slide. And I see there's activity in the chat, so I'll cover that here once we finish with these next couple slides. So season registration. So season registration is what allows us to be able to communicate all this information to you guys as coaches and to all of your families. So we're collecting all of our participant information. While it's not required, we strongly encourage that your participants sign up with us through season registration so we can pair them up on your rosters and provide them with all these same type of communication tools that we're providing anybody who completes season registration. So with that said, we got 7 days left before our summer season registration closes on May 17th. If you have any participants who you believe may not have already completed their season registration, highly encourage you to send them a reminder. We will also send reminders by way of our regional newsletters over the next couple of days as well. Team announcements will take place in advance of our upcoming state summer games. So you'll receive your team rosters, and team introduction emails will be sent to all teams by Friday, June 9th. So that's an expectation you could have. So you have those, all your rosters and everybody listed on your teams with plenty of time in advance to the start of this the summer season. RMs, regional managers, will provide you guys with coaches with shared roster links that you guys can use to update your rosters and provide us with any details of anybody who may not have registered with us directly. So if you see people that should be on your roster and they're not on there when you receive this, throw them in there, or alert your regional manager so we could add them to your roster and then provide you with their expiration details going into the season as well. And then last thing, if you need any support in advance of preparation for your season, whether that be booking a facility, securing uniforms, equipment, finding new coaches, please let your regional manager know. We would love to help you with that and provide you with whatever support we can to get you prepared for the season. Moving on to the next
Adrian,
slide.
can we just address some of the questions that are directly related to this before we
Let's do it.
move on? So we had a couple questions. One was, will the coaches still get a list of expiration dates prior to the season? And I answered yes through the shared roster, which we'll go over in a couple slides as well. We also had a question of, is there a way for someone to go online to see when their application is expiring? And maybe someday, but right now that's going to be through the help desk. So you can submit a help desk and request your expiration date, or through the shared roster, the coach can get that expiration date, or you can reach out to your regional manager. There's a couple different ways. And then Dave had a question that I wasn't able to answer. Have the issues with spring expiration dates not available when registration list came out been resolved? I don't know if that was something that all teams experienced, or maybe this team was just having some issues. So Dave, I might have Kyle connect with you offline about those specific issues, but we will have them available as soon as possible on those shared rosters.
It wasn't our team's issue when the list came. We didn't have expiration dates, and Kyle told us that that was an issue at the office and we had to wait. I can't remember. I don't want to quote the wrong time frame, but it was a couple weeks, I believe.
Gotcha.
And
Maybe
so if
our
you're
system could have
implementing-
been down. Yeah, it might have been sometimes our system goes down and we can't quickly access those things, but right now that is not an issue. So hopefully it doesn't come up again.
Our system, our database is current to the day. So as of today, so I think all those challenges that you guys may have run into in the spring season, there was just some website challenges that we encountered, but those have been remedied.
We had another question about, will coaches and volunteers also be notified of expiration of their in their registrations? And same answer with the shared rosters. So we'll emphasize that in a couple slides. Sounds like you're having trouble getting those expiration dates, Dave, so we can connect with your regional manager offline and see how we can get those to you quicker. That is the end of those questions, so I'll move forward.
Okay, thanks for covering that. So a lot of stuff, this is going to be repetitive now. We've chatted through some of this stuff, but we'll communicate all your athlete application Class A expiration dates via those shared rosters. So really encouraging you guys to utilize those. If you are unfamiliar with what the shared rosters look like, how to utilize them, how to access them, your regional manager can support you in that. So we have one created for every single team that's participating with us in the summer season. You will have a access that's mutually shared between the regional manager and yourself. So you can provide any updates, additions to your team, new athletes or participants that may have joined you directly that didn't come through us. It's just an opportunity for us to communicate with one another and provide as much detail as possible. And it's a tool for you to utilize, to have all your contact information for your athletes housed in one area. I know many of you are already keeping your own contact list of sorts. So this is a tool for you to utilize to make your lives a little bit easier as coaches and have more information from us about all of your participants. We're also going to be making another shift in also adapting our shared rosters and utilizing those as entry forms for upcoming competitions. So specifically, we're going to be using that for, we're going to be piloting it for softball this season. So basically, all of your information will already be housed on these rosters. So instead of duplicating efforts of putting in your participants' names and date of birth, which will already be on these rosters that you would be doing anyway for entry forms, you would now only just have to input your level, your division, are you attending state, what your team level is, that type of information. So hopefully easing some of the lift around the submission of entry forms for sports. So we're going to be testing that out for softball. And I think that might be the end of shared roster stuff. Now, before I move on here, some of you guys are spring season coaches as well, and have already seen some of the, the work and all of the energy that we've put into trying to make this shift around paperwork. And a lot of that is really only doable without the support and help of you all as coaches. So your guys' buy-in, your support in communicating all these updates to your families is really invaluable. And I just wanted to express that. I know that this is a change and it can be a lot, but we're very grateful for you guys, just general support and continued engagement in all of this. So very grateful for that. So I wanted to now just touch on quickly on our timeline, and then we'll jump into some of the sports and competition stuff. So summer season timeline, the coaches calls today, May 17th, already touched on it. We're going to close our Athlete Unified Partner registration. Really encourage you guys to share those reminders with your athletes. If you need a link on how to do that, we will be sharing that after this call in the recap email. Over between May 17th and June 9th, that's when we're going to be communicating all our team announcements and team introduction emails. Practices should start the week of June 19th. You're welcome to start earlier if you guys plan on it. If you have your already practice schedule locked in, great, good to go. But June 19th should be your target date for those of you that haven't secured facilities or a practice schedule yet. That June 19th week should be your go-to target for starting your first week of practices. Now, the week of June 30th, this is a soft deadline, but more of just a please alert us as regional managers by June 30th of any participants who were not reflected on your roster, so that we can provide you with their updated expiration dates. Ultimately, what we're trying to achieve with this is giving you the information earlier on when people are expiring that season, so that we're not in that last minute 2-week scramble that everybody's familiar with prior to a regional and state competition, where we're trying to get people in to see doctors. People are rushing to complete their Class A's. The earlier we can get you guys this information, the earlier you can communicate that to your teams. So by the week of June 30th, please let us know of anybody who's new to your team that didn't register with us, and we can provide you with all that information. And then we're going to talk about competition dates. So we're going to have Western Region competitions and Front Range regional competitions this year. So these are the competition entry due dates, July 10th for Western Regionals. And then we'll have that paperwork scratch deadline on July 17th. And for Front Range, it'll be July 17th is going to be the competition entry due date. And then that paperwork deadline will follow 1 week later on July 24th. So again, it's 1 week of that review period of when scratches will be made. So the earlier we can provide you that information, it will inevitably help that that time period and ease any of the back and forth of people trying to rush to get their applications completed. And I've been talking for quite a bit, but I'm going to hand it off here for Susan to carry us through the summer season calendar and our sports updates. Before I do that, any final questions or comments about scratch stuff and paperwork reports, season registration before we move into the fun stuff?
One message in the chat was just when coaches will have access to their shared roster, and I let them know that we'll be sending them out within the next week, ideally. If you need them sooner, please ask your regional manager, but that's kind of the timeline we're on right now. And a question about when Southeast things are due, and that is part of the Front Range.
Correct. Yeah. And we'll cover that here in the calendar. All right. Susan, hand it off to you to share the fun stuff.
Sweet, thank you. And we are super excited to be prepping for the summer season. This year we are going to be bringing back some regional events, which have not been back since pre-COVID. So we're excited for that. So if you want to go ahead and kind of take a look at what's up here, we have pushed all the events as far back as we can in July into early August without being too close to our state tournament that will be taking place mid-August at the Air Force Academy. So we'll be hosting all of these sports, golf and bocce, softball, tennis, and cycling will all take place out on the Western Slope, and you guys can see the dates on there. That is confirmed as well. We will be hosting a Denver Front Range regional tennis. That'll take place July 29th. The only reason that's tentative is it's 90% sure. So these dates should mostly stay where they are. We're just kind of waiting back on final confirmation and word of a few things on that. And that event's going to take place at Utah Park in Aurora. We will be hosting a Front Range regional bocce event. And that'll also be that July 29th. That location will be down in the southeast. The final location is still to be determined on that. And then we'll be hosting a Front Range regional cycling on August 5th. That will be where it's been in the past at the Arapahoe County Fairgrounds. And then a Front Range regional softball on August 5th as well. So those will all be regional events that athletes will need to attend prior to attending state competition for those events. The state competitions for those events will take place Saturday, August 19th and Sunday, August 20th. Adrian, I don't know if you can scroll down on the bottom of that screen at all, or if that's just kind of how the slide is. Either way, it's not a big deal, but just a quick update for our state golf tournament. That will be Saturday, August 12th. There's no regional tournament for that, except if you're on the Western Slope and you happen to be going to that and want to join. The state golf tournament on the Front Range will be on August 12th. And yes, the Southeast Regional Bocce will be the Front Range Regional Bocce basically as well. So we talked amongst our team and kind of divvied up the regional events to be hosted in different regions for the Front Range aspect of the regional events in tennis, bocce, cycling, and softball. One quick change for State Summer Classic. On Saturday, August 19th, we're going to be at the Air Force Academy. We are going to be adding some softball tournaments to that, or some softball divisions to that. It won't be all the divisions, but I know last year we had some feedback that some of those fields at Leon Young's were a little bit small. So we are going to plan to arrange the schedule accordingly to make sure those fields are for possibly level 3-4 athletes, maybe even level 4 athletes and our youth athletes. And then making sure we're using the larger fields for which some will be Saturday at the Air Force Academy and the rest will be Sunday at Leon Young's Park in Colorado Springs as well. Just a reminder, all athletes have to participate in regionals to attend the State Summer Classic. Obviously golf is an exception to that because we just have the one event for that, but I will touch on some golf specific information as we get a little bit closer to that as well. They can compete in different sports in the summer season and go to different regionals on different days if they want to, but knowing that once we get to state, they'll only be able to compete in one on each day, for example. So I know we've got a great influx of athletes who are joining coaching staffs, which is fantastic. Just a reminder, if an athlete is coaching the not basketball, it's a bad example. If an athlete is coaching the softball team, they cannot play on that softball team as well. Now, if they're coaching softball and are interested in helping, and if they're coaching softball skills and playing softball, we can touch base on that. But for the most part, we want to keep those coaching and team dynamics a little bit separate, just because we know how important that coach role is to a lot of the athletes, and we want to make sure that it is being treated as such. We can hop over to the lovely competition page. Larissa, the softball regional will be hosting a Front Range regional. So it'll be up in the Brighton area for softball. So each sport on the Front Range has a different location, and we're hosting one in each at this point as well. Here is our Summer Classic information. You'll need to scroll past the spring season. So right above that, we still have our spring season because we're still in that. So scroll down to that and you'll hop into the Summer Classic information. And then right down here, we'll have all of the information for the, this is last year's information, but we will get that updated with this year's events that will link over to the event page. And then over on the left-hand side of the screen, you can go ahead and see the event resources for each sport as well. So entry forms, which some of that stuff will cover, rules, any questions, concerns you might have, helping to measure, helping to do assessments, kind of all those pieces will be listed over in this area over here. And then we also have some COVID forms as well. So if you scroll up, you can see, that's an example of what it'll, nope, stay, you're good. Sorry, you're scrolling all over the place. Like you can take a look here, it'll have, once we get into it and confirm anything, it will go ahead and show July, August, what events are taking place where. Yep, and we'll share all the information once we finalize it. Again, a couple of those events are like 90% sure. We're just waiting on a few contract pieces back on them. So as soon as we have that, which we're hoping will be in the next couple of weeks, we will get all those events up on the website. We'll share out fact sheets and we'll share out anything else we need to as well. Okay. Feel free to share those event pages. I think we've been trying to work pretty hard to get as much information as we can on those event pages, as far as general schedules, as far as we won't be sharing the specific who's competing when kind of thing, but the general information, you guys can share that out to spectators' families, so you're not getting nearly as many questions, hopefully. And you can just kind of redirect folks to that to help answer and alleviate some of those questions as well.
Sorry, my screen froze, so I just need to get to it. Please hold. Almost there.
And Susan, we'll kick it over to Mandy to cover the young athletes portion now, before we regroup on the sports specific stuff.
Great.
It's just like an endless wheel of loading right now for some reason. I was literally just on it.
You can just go ahead and give an overview, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sorry.
No worries. Hi, guys. I'm Mandy. I'm the Senior Director of our Young Athletes. I know most of you guys I've hopefully met already, but just for anyone who's new, if you're not familiar with Young Athletes, so obviously in our traditional programs, our athletes have to be 8 years of age or older to officially start competing. So about 15 years ago, we started our Young Athletes program to start welcoming younger families and younger athletes to our program and our network of support. So again, Young Athletes is offered as a fully inclusive organization or a fully inclusive model for children ages 4 to 7. So again, with a variety of different skills and ability levels. So what we do with young athletes is we allow them, again, to just kind of be exposed to all the different sports that we offer. And we create environments where they can come out to our events and participate in non-competitive skill stations, do practice scrimmages, and again, really just kind of get comfortable with our events and socialize and work on developing their basic individual gross motor skills, as well as whatever sport we're offering at that event. Again, being able to kind of learn the basic rules and skills of each sport while they're becoming comfortable being part of our Special Olympics programming. If you haven't met Ashton, we also have our Young Athletes Coordinator, which hopefully you guys have met. But really just, again, the benefits of Young Athletes is just allowing them, again, to be introduced to the sports in a non-intimidating environment so that once they do turn 8 and can officially start competing, hopefully they'll have a safe and smooth transition onto those youth teams. We know a lot of you guys have already started working with Young Athletes. So as you've registered as coaches, you've noticed on the registration that it asks, again, the age groups that you're comfortable having on your team, and if you're open to a 4 to 7 team as well. So again, if you guys have filled that out for summer, in each season, we try to offer at least one team option and then one individual sport option as well. But we do try to expose them to as many as we possibly can, again, based on our coaches that are available. For the summer sports, it's a little bit different. We're focusing on tennis for summer. We know that a lot of our little guys are out of school and they're traveling, and so our teams aren't quite as large or successful during the summer. So we're focusing just on tennis. But if you guys did do young athletes, excuse me, last summer with either T-ball or cycling, and you still have those kids on your rosters and want to include them still, you're more than welcome to do that. But we did not open up any other sport besides tennis as an official registration option for the summer. So again, if you're coaching tennis and you marked 4 to 7s on there that you're willing to take them on, again, just like the other team rosters, we will be placing those kiddos on your teams. And then this slide also talks about, so even if we don't offer teams, we also offer what we call our Learn To clinics, where again, those kids as young as 4 can come out to our events, again, regional and state competitions, where we offer our young athletes exhibition. So not only are those events available to the kids that are practicing on teams, but we also open them up as day of opportunities where if we have brand new families and kids that aren't on a team but want to come and kind of do a one-day experience and check it out, they have the option to do that as well. So again, we just kind of build off of the traditional events with regionals and state again. So if you guys are attending those events, again, we will have the young athletes exhibitions available as well. So we will reach out to you if you guys have teams that are accepting young athletes, but also if you guys have any kiddos between the ages of 4 to 7 that might not be on a team, but they're brand new and want to come out and be involved, they can certainly join us for these one-day events as well. So this is just a list of some of those dates, again, that correlate with the previous dates that were just shown. Some of them are still to be determined, but we will continue to build out those. And if you guys have any questions, if you didn't register and you're open to having some 4 to 7s on your team, you can feel free to email me as well. We can get you more information kind of offline. I will put my email in the chat, and if anybody has any interest or questions about adding young athletes to your teams or getting kids plugged in, we do have a general interest form for young athletes, which is a really easy, just a link that families can click on, and then they'll be added to our master database of young athletes and receive all of our young athlete event information directly from Ashton. So you guys are welcome to be on that email distribution as well to get all the young athletes information. But we certainly encourage all of our families to join that so they don't miss out on any of the information. So I will put my email in the chat, and feel free to email with any questions or concerns that you have about young athletes for this season.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Twee. I'm our Senior Inclusive Health Manager here at Special Olympics Colorado. So we are taking it to healthy athletes now. So the only thing happening for the summer season will be at the State Summer Classic, healthy athletes wise. We'll be offering special smiles at that one. It'll be happening both on August 19th and 20th. So it'll be happening at both of those locations. Fingers crossed, getting enough volunteer support and clinical director support. Our hope is to kind of just at the Air Force Academy have little pods of it. So you guys won't have to travel super far to go get the screening. So if you're at tennis, it'll be easily accessible for you. And then we'll also be at softball on the 20th. As you guys can see on the screen there, tentative time. Obviously we'll know the exact time once we get closer to August. And then that's just a description there in case you don't know what Special Smiles is. It's our oral health screening. So just getting your mouth looked at. Performance stations, we're going to have those at the regional events that Susan was talking about a couple slides ago. So most of those events that were listed will have a performance station at them. So just keep an eye out for those. Typically, there's some fun giveaways on the table and a colorful tablecloth, so it stands out a little bit. Just great giveaways to help your athletes and prepare them for practice and competitions. So make sure you guys find those. And then Health for All kits. The summer health kit is going to include a fidget spinner, a healthy snack, and some hydration, like powder stuff, hand sanitizer, and an informational handout. Our current plan is to have those at state golf. That could potentially alter between now and August / July. So that's the current plan, but if they pop up at a regional competition, just be excited because you get a Health for All kit. So please make sure you take advantage of those and remind your athletes about them and the amazing tools that they receive and those and the information. And here you go, Southeast region. You see it. It's exciting. We have a MedFest for you guys. I've been talking about it all year, and it's real. I told you it was going to happen. July 15th. So it's a Saturday. It's going to be at Mission Medical Center. They're a new partner for us for the MedFest. We just literally locked this down within the last week. So I'm very excited to present it to you guys. I know Kyle's excited as well. It's going to be happening from 9 to 1. Currently, right now, we have 21 slots available. If need exceeds this, then we will have a conversation and see if we have the volunteer support to open up more slots for you all. There is the registration link. It's an easy little bit.ly link. I can also pop that in the chat after I'm done talking, because I think there's a few people on the call who have been eagerly awaiting this announcement right here. So yay. And just a reminder, keep nominating your fitness captains. This is a great program for anyone who has just emerging athlete leaders on their team. And, maybe they're not willing to step into like a health messenger role or a bigger athlete leadership role, but they kind of want to get their feet wet, talking in front of a group, in front of peers that they know. So it's a little bit more comfortable. We're always looking for more fitness captains. Casey is holding trainings all the time. So she will get your fitness captains trained up so they're ready to go for the summer season. So please keep sending those nominations our way. I'll drop that SoCo Fitness Captain email in the chat as well, so it's easily accessible for you guys right now, in case you have some athletes at the top of your mind that you think would be great for this role. I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Elizabeth, this is your section on entry forms.
Jenna, there was one question in the chat about special smiles on the Western Slope and if that will be offered there.
It will be at Summer Games, so on June 10th, and you do not have to be participating to attend the Healthy Athletes event on June 10th. So if you live out near the Grand Junction area and you want to come over between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. at Dominguez Hall on the CMU campus, everyone is welcome. So that oral health screening will be happening along with 6 other screenings, and you do not have to be competing to take advantage of it.
Thank you. All right, I'm just going to briefly provide a little reminder before Susan and her team jump into sport specific information. Just a reminder for entry forms, we need the coach roster. Usually it's included as the first page on each entry form, but sometimes we miss one and it might be separate. So just make sure that you're submitting all the coaches information. That includes first name, last name, and birthday. This just helps us, not just with coaches, but all participants in our competitions. Having the full name and the birthday really helps us match them up with the right person in the system. If we have multiple John Smiths, we differentiate them by their birthday. So please include that information when we request it. For team sports, just making sure that each player has, again, the name, birthday, gender, athlete or partner, and then the level of play. And this is included for unified partners. So making sure those individual ratings for each of the team players are on there so that we can kind of compare with the level that you're putting on there for your whole team. And then for individual sports, very similar, name, birthday, gender, including events and their times and distances for those events. If you can't quite get all of their time trials in before the entry deadline, we can use last year's scores or your best guess just to make sure that they are in an appropriate division. And then this is just a screenshot of that coach's roster. Just a reminder of what it looks like, last name, first name, date of birth, and gender as well. Putting the head coach email and then as many emails as you want on here. If they don't all fit, you can also just include them in the email when you send the entry form. This will be how we gather the contact information for when we are sending out competition information. Those are the emails that we'll include on the list. So if you want assistant coaches receiving the same information as the head coaches or any administrative support, please include their emails on here when you submit it. And for those of you who, I believe we had the entries email existed last summer, but if that's new to you, we've created an entries email so that it all goes to one central place for us to reference. So when you are sending in your entry forms, just make sure that you're sending it to entries@specialolympicsco.org, as well as your regional manager, so that we know to go in there and save it for the rest of the team. All right. I think we're jumping into the sports. There was one question in there from Mary. Can you make sure that all new coaches sent our way are already done with Class A? That is the goal for sure. We request that that happens before we send them your way. If that's not the case, send them back. All right, Susan and team, it's all you.
Sweet. I will hop in and cover bocce tonight. We will start out with just the official events. So this year, as typical years, we'll be offering singles, which is just one athlete playing, doubles, which is 2 athletes playing, team play, which is 4 athletes participating, unified bocce doubles, which is a Special Olympics athlete and a unified partner, unified bocce team, which is 2 Special Olympics athletes and 2 unified partners, and then singles ramp. I know in the past we've been able to have enough ramp folks to be able to offer doubles. So I would say we will offer that based on what we have available as well. Please note the player attire for those situations. And then equipment, we will provide you guys at the tournament with regulation size balls and a distinct coloring difference, as well as courts. If you need some assistance in finding those for practice, let us know. We have some cases that we can share out with you guys as well. And then just to keep in mind, like I said, we do offer ramps. We have some folks, I believe, in the Southeast region who got real creative with it, and a couple in the Denver region as well. So if you have an athlete that is maybe having a hard time getting the ball thrown, all those kinds of things, we do offer the ramp portion. And I apologize, one other thing we do have offer is our lead up bocce, which is basically half court bocce. So in typical singles, doubles, etc., you have to throw the ball past the half court line in order to move forward, at least if you're going to roll the Polina and have any chance of scoring for the most part. So for some athletes who maybe have some challenges with that, we have offered lead up as well, and that should all be on the entry form that I'll cover once I get down to that as well. The ball can be rolled or tossed or banked when it's put into play, and the release must be below the waist level. I don't believe there's anything specifying whether it needs to be underhand or overhand. You just need to release it below the waist level. Singles, doubles, unified doubles, ramps, and lead ups will play to a score of 12, and then team will play to a score of 16. Typically, we're playing at our tournaments time limit, and that is typically 20 minutes as well on there. But if you're at practice playing, it doesn't hurt to play out to 12. I think, playing those longer games is what builds the athlete's stamina, especially when we get to state, when they're playing double elimination, and they could be playing up to 5 matches in a row. So coaching, it is a little different than other sports, in which case you can't coach while they're playing. Like for example, in softball, you are in the dugout and you are yelling and you're coaching, and that's acceptable, and you're cheering your team on. In bocce, you can cheer your team on and you can clap, but you cannot coach. You cannot tell them to throw farther one way. You can't ask them to throw farther the other way. So if we who are running the competition see that a coach or spectator or volunteer or kind of anyone is doing that, they could receive a violation, which could result in disqualification. So please, we will continue to move the lines of spectating farther back if we need to, so that our spectators and coaches are farther away, and we don't want to have to do that. So please just abide by these rules so that all the athletes that are playing have a fair advantage as well. Okay. Next slide. This is our entry form, so you'll note on here, this is singles, lead up and ramp on the top, it notes that. So what we'll want to make sure we have is the athlete name, their gender, their date of birth. If they're in lead ups, you're going to check that column. And if they are in ramp, you'll check that column as well. And then we're asking for their qualification scores in meters and centimeters. In order to get the qualification scores, athletes will, there's a kind of a whole process of that, which I can cover. Basically, one of your first practices, you're going to place the Polina out and at a certain mark, have an athlete throw the balls, measure the average, and do that 3 or 4 times. And that's all listed up on our website as well on how to get those qualification scores. And then just marking if you plan to attend state or if the athlete uses a wheelchair in that case as well. This is our doubles form. So in this case, the line 1 and 2 will be the team name. So what we'll do for team names is just use last names of the 2 athletes in that situation. You'll add gender, date of birth. You can just add their total score, whether they're a partner, an athlete, if they're using a ramp, etc., and then their total score in that spot. And then if you can also check for us just if they're in singles and team. I think typically most athletes are in singles and doubles or singles and team, which is how our schedule works out. If you have a situation where you want an athlete in doubles and teams, please reach out to us so we can make sure that we are accommodating that as well. And then here's the entry form for the teams. We do have an alternate spot listed down there as well. So you can list 4 athletes, which will make up your team, and then an alternate spot if necessary. And then you'll do the total team score in that situation. And then again, checking whether it's singles or doubles, if they're in those spots. Any questions on bocce before I turn it over to Corey on cycling? Great. Corey, you can take over cycling.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about cycling. We're excited to be back at Arapahoe County Fairgrounds again. The events offered range from 250 meters to 25K races. We will offer the following different races and how races will run. We go time trials, unified, and tandem. And I think I'll cover a little bit later on in this, but the difference between unified and tandem is unified is a partner and athlete riding separate bikes in a race, and tandem is 2 athletes or a partner and an athlete riding the same bike in a race. We are going to be pretty strict on the approved bike, so if you have a question on if your bike is approved or not, please reach out to Susan, Kara, myself, and we can help you out. Absolutely no headphones are allowed while riding. Cyclists must keep one hand on the handlebars at all times, even after they finish the race, or face possible disqualification. And no cyclist may use or carry radios for communications with their team. Only approved bicycle helmets may be worn to compete, and helmets must be worn at all times on the course by all coaches, partners, and athletes during warm-up laps included. I talked a little bit about the tandem and unified difference. This year we're going to do a mandatory bike inspection. So we will have a bike mechanic on hand just to take a glance over at everybody's bikes before they start riding to make sure everybody's going to be safe and is riding a bike that'll work. No rider may receive a helping push during the race. So no push-offs to help them get going during the race, get them going a little faster, and no scooters as well, or e-bikes. I know they've become very popular, but we do not allow e-bikes in our competitions. And this is our individual cycling entry form. So it shows your region, team name, coach's name, email, and then you'll have your athlete's name, date of birth, male, female, unified or partner, and then the variety of races that we offer. And it is important if you do check the box up top about if you would like to attend state or not. And that's pretty basic on our cycling. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to myself, Kara or Susan, we can help you out. Any questions right now?
Is there a limit to how many races you can be in as a single person?
I think it's 3, and correct me if I'm wrong, Susan. Nope, I want to see. I didn't see your hand there. You're off screen.
Yes, it's 3 races. They can
Okay, I
be
was
3
right.
races.
It's 3 races. Sorry, Susan, you were kind of off screen when you did that, but 3 races, I was right. So 3 races.
Awesome, thanks.
And I'll pass it on for golf.
Perfect. I will pick things back up into golf. Just want to cover the levels that we do offer with some recommendations, guidelines, perhaps for some of the competitions that we do offer. So the first one is our individual skills. So this will be a short putt, a long putt, a wood shot, an iron shot, a pitch, a chip, kind of all those pieces put together. The athletes rotate through each of those in order to get their scores for that. So that is something for athletes that are maybe not quite ready for 9-hole. Maybe on the 9-hole, their average is getting up to 80, 90, where they're getting 10x on most holes. So it might be a good transition for some of those athletes who are working up to that unified alternate shot hole. So our level 2 and 3 are both unified alternate shot. Level 2 is 9-hole and level 3 is 18-hole. And then our level 4 is 9-hole individual athletes playing. And then our level 5 is 18-hole individuals playing as well. So just a couple of pieces I want to cover. Spectators on the course can become challenging for the pace of play, as well as the amount of carts the course has, etc. I think this past year, we didn't run into too many issues at Aurora Hills, which is where we'll be back this year. But that is a pretty good walking course where you can see quite a bit from not having to ride on the cart. So we'll continue to update spectators on that as we get closer to that event as well. A question that always comes up is rangefinders are currently not allowed during the SoCo tournament play this year. We know that there are some rules that are kind of being rolled around about allowing them, whether they have this, that, or the other thing. But for this year, we're just going to say that they are not allowed. So please don't practice with them. Have your athletes carry them around. We don't want to have that conversation at an event where all of a sudden an athlete is unprepared to scope out and work with their caddies or yourself and needing their rangefinders. So please make sure that we're practicing not using those rangefinders at this point. Caddies cannot act as coaches, but you'll abide by the typical rules for a caddy. So you can obviously help with some club selection and those kinds of pieces, but just as a reminder, they're caddies. They can be your coaches, but we try to keep that separate if that's possible as well. Then just a few pieces on golf etiquette. This includes also keeping up with pace of play, and kind of all these pieces I'm sharing are also we'd like you guys to incorporate into practice as well. One rule we do have that you hopefully may or may not know about is after that 10th stroke on each hole, athletes will pick up the ball and mark a 10x. Not mark a 10x and then play four more strokes to get the ball in the hole. But at that point, we'll just call it. They can, get their 10x and move on to the next hole as well. Driven golf carts are only allowed with a doctor's note. Those doctor's notes must be turned in with entries. I know that was a little bit new information last year, so we'd love to make sure we get those. We don't keep those on file. We keep them for the year. We keep them to check them off, but we don't typically keep those in our system on file. So hopefully with enough notice, we can have some folks just reach out to doctors to get those notes as needed as well. Hand carts are obviously usable for any athletes. They offer those at Aurora Hills at no charge to us as well if athletes want to use those instead of lugging their bag around. But if you're a spectator and you are driving a golf cart, you cannot cart around clubs for an athlete. The athletes need to be carrying their own clubs. Hence using the hand carts and that as well. Okay. So keep all that in mind when you're practicing. Practice how you're going to play in the tournament. So don't use the golf carts unless athletes have them required. Use the hand carts. encourage that walking. We know in the Colorado weather, it can be challenging to get in 9 holes at a time, 18 holes at a time, especially when some of you are starting later. But I think a big thing we do actually see at golf is athletes just struggling to get through those 9 holes or those 18 holes. So just kind of keep that peace in mind when you're signing athletes up for that. And if they're golfing 18 holes at our state tournament, that shouldn't be the first time they're doing it consecutively. So just trying to make sure that you're going to practice as you're going to play in the competition as well. We've got our golf entry form here. It will look similar to this, where you'll just add athlete name, date of birth, gender, and then picking what level they're at. If they are doing unified, please go ahead and add their partner. If you can add their date of birth, that's super helpful for us. So then we're not bugging you asking for someone's date of birth, of course. And we will actually try to update that to make sure we've got a spot on there for the date of birth to make it a little easier for you as well. The top slot for total points, that's just for our level 1 skills. And then we are asking for 3 scores for athletes as well. So that would be for the unified pair also. Any questions on that stuff before I turn it over to Shaka? Great.
All right, Shaka's gonna share a little bit about some exciting stuff we have coming over with golf.
Great. Hopefully you guys can hear me, and I'll make this pretty brief so we can get to the other sports in a timely fashion here. Look down the list. I see there are a few golf coaches on here, but for those who aren't familiar, each summer season we provide a series of free golf clinics at participating golf courses throughout the Front Range. We're in the process of securing those now, and by the end of this month, we will have those out to our golfers. And then those who are interested in golf, these clinics teach putting, chipping, some iron play, and then some play with longer clubs as well. And these are taught by golf pros at participating golf courses throughout the Front Range. More information on those will follow. We are currently, as in Special Olympics, currently have a partnership with Topgolf. So this is a great opportunity for a few reasons. The first is we currently have a storage room full of golf clubs, and we will be giving them out to anyone who is interested in golf. All right. We have a form on here, and we'll get this to you also, but your regional managers, if you're interested, you can contact them for golf clubs, and this is for anybody in the state. If you're from the Western Slope and you're interested, please let us know, let Michelle know, and we will make sure we get those golf clubs to you guys. But it is a great opportunity for those who either are currently doing golf and they have old clubs, those that don't have clubs and have to rent. The clubs that we have are no more than 2 to 3 years old, and they were donated by Topgolf via Callaway Golf. So they are some great clubs. Next slide. I just spoke about it, but Special Olympics and Topgolf have formed a partnership, and with the creation of this partnership, we are in a pilot phase of creating Topgolf as a sport. And if you have been to Topgolf, I will explain this in its simplest form. It is the simple game of where you hit the ball into the different target areas to score points. That is Topgolf as a sport in itself. Coaches will have to be certified through a Topgolf online training. Athletes will have to be registered as any other athlete in Special Olympics. Coaches will also have to have Class A certified to be able to coach as well. We are currently in a pilot phase that will be kicking off this summer with a select few golfers, with the hopes of next year to have this as a sport that we will be offering. In a perfect world, this will be a great entry level. This will be a great for those golfers that are trying to hone their skills a little bit more. Our thoughts are to have this outside of our current golf season, so this could be a continuation of golf as well. More information on this will follow. You can skip that slide. More information on this will follow, and we'll get more information to you. If you are interested learning more about Topgolf as a sport, please contact your regional manager or myself. I will throw my email address into the slide here. Go to the next slide. You can keep going.
All right, we're up at softball, but if you have any more questions about Topgolf and that partnership and the donation of clubs and how to receive those, please reach out to us here and we will get you going.
All right, I'm up. I'm going to talk a little bit about softball. Of course, the uniform and equipment, as we stress in all of our competitions, just make sure that you're wearing no jewelry. Obviously, you can wear a baseball hat, no jeans. So we always just want to stress that, just make sure that everyone's wearing comfortable clothing that's competition or play appropriate. Obviously, if you're doing team play, not individual skills, everybody must wear the same color shirt with a readable number on the back. Only softball or baseball pants, sweatpants or shorts. Again, no jeans or jean shorts, and no jewelry or no awards worn during competition play. For equipment, all bats must be specifically marked as official softball. No wooden bats allowed. Catchers are required to wear a protective mask and helmet, as well as a chest protector. Steel spikes and metal tipped cleats are not allowed. Street shoes are not allowed. But gym, tennis, running, or rubber spiked shoes will be allowed. Of course, your glove is required. The first baseman and catchers must wear the first baseman's trapping style mitt only. We'll use the optic yellow ball softballs in our competitions. So if you practice those, that might be helpful to know as well. Batting helmets are required when at bat or running the bases, and it can the helmet cannot be removed until the player is inside the dugouts. Next slide. So our types of play that we are going to that many of you might be familiar with are our individual skills. Those players that are not quite ready for that team play, but want to get more hone their skills a little bit more. We're going to doing slow pitch, and then a modified slow pitch for traditional and for unified teams. So traditional, as you probably all know, is athletes, and then unified is an athlete and our unified partners. So just some rules, just making sure that your lineup cards are presented to the umpire before the start of any game. The game will be declared completed if one team has a 12-run lead at the end of the 5th or prior to the start of the last possible inning to be played. A game will be declared completed if one team has 20-run lead at the end of the fourth inning. And a game tied at the end of regulation play will be continued through the unspecified number of innings until a team is ahead at the end of that full inning. Each team will be allowed 10 minutes after the scheduled reporting time to take the field. Otherwise, that game will be forfeited. Like I mentioned, we will have our unified play. Some specific rules for the unified play. The lineup should never exceed an equal number of athletes and partners at any time. Exception, a team may play with an uneven number of athletes and partners as long as there are more athletes than partners. There's going to be 10 players on the field. That could be 5 athletes and 5 partners. Obviously, more athletes than partners is okay. If a team plays shorthanded with either 3 in the infield or outfield, at least 2 of those 3 must be athletes, and at least 1 of the 3 must be a partner. Athletes and partners will alternate in the batting order. For example, the first batter will be an athlete, the second batter number 2 will be a partner, and then batter 3 will be an athlete, so on. If playing under the shorthanded rule and the team has dropped a partner, an out must be taken when the lineup reaches that partner's place in the batting order. Like I mentioned, we're going to be doing some individual skills. So when you do that entry form, just make sure we have your region, day of contact, the coach's name, coach's emails, again, as many as you'd like to give us. That's the way that we communicate to you with what's going on with the competition. What team you may be with, if you have a team that is made up of skills players and teams. And then again, the athlete name, the gender, individual skills, and then the score of and whether or not that athlete is a wheelchair user. Also, if they are going to be coming to state is important as well. This is the team competition. The most important information is whether they're an athlete or a partner. Name, and then athlete and partner, gender, date of birth, and then we do need everybody's individual rating, and that is how you will determine the level of play for your team. And then whether it's a unified or traditional team, whether you're going to be coming to state, and then if you your strength and weakness, or strength as a team. Back to you, Susan.
Sweet. I will go ahead and touch base on tennis. Those tennis coaches that are on here, we are going to be using different red balls for tennis. Hopefully they won't blow away in the wind because it's always windy at tennis. But I know those foam balls are pretty windy, pretty difficult for feeding, pretty difficult for the athletes to track based on the weather. So we are going to be adjusting to new balls for our level 1 and level 2. And it's just going to be the red, basic, same size tennis ball. It's just a different bounciness is not the right terminology, but it's just the level that it bounces is a little bit different. So I've added a lovely little picture down at the bottom, which I found, which I thought was super helpful because I always get confused on what direction things go. So our level 1 and 2 will be the red ball. So if you have athletes in that level, reach out. We have some capabilities to purchase some of the tennis balls through some grants that we have. So reach out to your regional manager on that if you are looking for some of those red balls. If you have access to them, fantastic. I think they're a little easier to access than the foam balls that we have. And if anyone has a use for a ton of foam tennis balls, let me know. They soak up the rain really well. They're not good for dogs, all things I found out. Oh, sorry, can you go back one? So that's our level 1 and 2. Our level 3 is orange ball. It's a little bit less of a rough bounce, and that is on the 60-foot court that we mark out. The green dot ball or the green ball is on a regular court. And then finally, the yellow ball is on a regular court. And I think ideally, once people start tennis, this is a progression that the USTA uses in order to get people to, that competition of regular ball on the regular court. Obviously, we're not all going to get there, but just kind of a frame of reference. I thought it was just a neat visual to figure out how we're going to move up the chain to continue to challenge our athletes as well. We've got our entry forms on here. So these look pretty similar to the entry forms for golf, but we're just looking for athlete name, gender, date of birth, obviously making sure the top portion is filled out and letting us know if you're going to state, and then marking what level you can do. One important piece here is if you're in skills in level 1, you can also play short court in level 2. And that's the only way that they can that's the only way they can be in more than one level. So for our levels 2, 3, 4, and 5, we offer singles, doubles, as well as unified doubles. But again, if they would like to be in skills, running skills, as well as short court, they're able to do that as well in level 1 and 2. But if they're in level 4, they can either be in singles, doubles, or unified doubles at that point. Any other questions on tennis?
We had a coach in agreement on the foam balls not being great. So happy for the switch.
Fabulous.
Awesome. So I'm going to quickly go through a few more slides because we're getting right at time and you'll be able to reference these when we send them out. So we just want to provide a reminder about principles of meaningful involvement, one of the staples of Special Olympics, just making sure that every teammate has a meaningful role and that you as the coach are paying attention to that, whether that's in unified or the traditional play. Also want to emphasize our codes of conduct. We have an athlete and unified partner code of conduct. We have a coach code of conduct, and we also have a spectator code of conduct. We will include those in our follow-up email, but just want to emphasize them and also remind you to go over them with your team, not just your athletes and your partners and your assistant coaches, but also sharing them with families that will then be spectators at our events, and just making sure that they understand, everyone involved understands what we expect at our competitions. And if you have any questions, let us know. There are spots on the bottom of each of those codes of conducts for signatures. If you would like to distribute those at your practices and collect them as signatures so that you can emphasize them within your own team. We do not need them. We won't collect them. It's not a requirement, but just a strong emphasis and encouragement to you as coaches to go over those with your team. If there is a violation to any of those codes of conduct, we have a violation form that is available to you, and we have a disciplinary committee that reviews those violation forms and then decides what those next steps look like for anyone that is in violation of those. Like I said, it's an internal committee of our disciplinary committee over a 30-day period, and then those decisions will be shared with the parties involved. Certificates of insurance, just a reminder that if you are setting up a reservation for a practice facility and that facility requires a certificate of insurance from Special Olympics, please contact your regional manager as soon as you can so that we can get those squared away. And any contracts that require signature, if they're being reserved under Special Olympics, they should be reviewed by us and signed by us. Try not to sign them yourselves as the coach. We want to make sure that they fit all of our legal guidelines, and if we need to elevate it to any legal counsel in case any of the wording in the contracts doesn't fit with what we would agree to. We just don't want any coaches to be liable for anything that should be signed by Special Olympics. So it's great if you coordinate the facilities and you get to the point of needing the certificate of insurance and a signature facility and a payment from your regional manager and hand it off to us. But just make sure that we're seeing those things and that you aren't signing anything on behalf of Special Olympics Colorado. We've shared this in a couple seasonal calls, so this is a repeat for any coaches that coach other seasons. We have created an athlete emergency contact form. We no longer require coaches to have their athlete applications on hand at each practice and competition. So to kind of replace or fill the gap of having contact information in case of emergency, we have created this form as a resource to you. Another thing that we don't collect from you, we don't require this. This isn't part of the athlete application or anything like that. It's just something that you can bring to the first night of practice, distribute to athletes and their families to fill out and give back to you, and then you can keep them on hand. Just keeping in mind that there is sensitive information on here. So just making sure that it's only in the hands of people who are Class A, and it's kept in a safe spot that won't be at risk of being stolen or peeked at by somebody that shouldn't be looking at it. And then just keeping it on hand at practices and competitions. Another resource, we have event arrival and departure timeframes expectations that we can provide to you. It's a one-pager that you can send out to your team at the beginning of the season, just reminding them that you are a volunteer coach and that you're going to be there to support the athletes during the specified time frame. You can give them maybe a 15-minute window at the beginning and the end, making sure people aren't dropped off way too early, giving you the expectation that you need to be there that early. And then on the flip side, not getting picked up too late where you're sitting around and waiting for them. So if you experience this as an issue at all at your practices, we have this as a resource for you. Again, they can sign it, but we don't need to collect it. It can just be an internal resource within your team. Important links, all these will be sent out with the slides. So just a reiteration of a lot of links that we talked about earlier on the call. And then regional caravans, I'll touch on mine since I'm talking. Northeast Caravan's going to happen September 8th through 10th. Primarily, we're going to be in Greeley right now, but I'm still figuring out some other locations to visit. So if you live in a community that you would like us to bring our show on the road, host a social event, a meet and greet, a resource fair type of event, please reach out to me if you live in the Northeast area. And then we'll also have a MedFest in Longmont the following weekend on that Saturday, the 16th at Hope Light Clinic. So that's open to all athletes that want to drive there. It's a pretty central location for a lot of people on the Front Range, especially in the northern suburbs. So if you can't take advantage of the Colorado Springs one or you live too far away, this is a great fall season opportunity for athletes in the Northeast. And then Adrian will touch on Western.
Yep, and so for the Western region, we'll be visiting Eagle Vale area on Friday, July 7th. On Saturday, July 8th, we'll be in Glenwood Springs, and then Sunday, July 9th, we'll be in Aspen. We'll be doing a variety of meet and greets. We'll be holding a MedFest in Glenwood, and other just opportunities for connection for people in these communities. So Caravan's just an opportunity for us to take our show on the road, as Elizabeth put it earlier, and just be more present in communities that we aren't able to get to as frequently. So if you do see opportunities in your areas that you would like for Special Olympics to be come by and have a meet and greet and pay your community a visit, please let us know. We'd be happy to include those in upcoming caravans. And then this is gonna just about close us up, but we are growing as an organization and have been really intentional in the last year about trying to engage Spanish-speaking communities. And with that, we are looking for coaches who are bilingual or able to speak Spanish and communicate to families in Spanish so that we can find them an opportunity for engagement at Special Olympics. So if you or somebody in your community does speak Spanish or is bilingual and interested in receiving and engaging more of these families and athletes, please let us know. Let your regional manager know. We would love to chat with you a little bit more about what those opportunities look like to grow your team. And we'll close out here. Just some important links about how you can stay in the know about all things that are happening at Special Olympics. We have our monthly regional newsletters, which will go out on the 15th of every month. If you are not already subscribed to these, I would encourage you to do so. This is the best way to stay up to date on all the things happening in your region. And then social pages for each one of our different regions as well. And that is it. We finished just over, but we are very excited to have you guys out with us this upcoming summer season. Very much looking forward to all the activities we have ahead, and deeply grateful for all your support and the time that you guys will give to our athletes this upcoming summer season, and grateful for your time tonight and spending your last hour and a half with us. So with that, we are wrapped with this call. We will stay on here for any questions that you guys might have. So anybody who has questions, please feel free to stick around and we will happily answer those. Otherwise, thank you for joining tonight's call, and look forward to seeing you at practices, regional and state competitions this summer. All right, thank you, everybody. Excellent. See some people still staying on. Any questions for us? No questions? Great. Well, terrific. I guess we will wrap there. Final call, anybody else? Last questions? Excellent. All right, everybody have a great evening, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, team, for staying on. Have a good night.